What's going on, everybody? It's Willoughby's, and welcome back to the Lore Chronicles. Before we start this video, we need to address the elephant in the room. This video was filmed before anything that was going around the last few days. We want to make it abundantly clear. This video was filmed more than a week ago, and it's only being uploaded now because, despite when it was recorded, we feel all of our opinions and predictions made in this video are still relevant despite the announcement from Ravensburger about Worlds. Obviously, we're looking forward to the official Lorecast on Tuesday. That's hopefully going to bring some better news and clarify some more information. But as of right now, this video is our thoughts on the state of Lorcana and its future. So enjoy the video. All right, so we've got some breaking news, really, in the Lorcana community. So we were planning on making a video anyways about Worlds because famously, we have absolutely no Worlds info. However, it seems that's all about to change. So let's break this down because there's kind of a lot to go through here. First is we have the next Lorecast. I think that's what they're called, or at least that's what the community has dubbed it, has been announced, right? So we got this graphic shared on the Twitter saying watch the next chapter live on Tuesday, May 6th, 9 a.m., right? Okay, announcements 10 a.m. Great. Twitch.tv/Disney Lorcana. Now, on the surface, nothing too crazy, right? We've got Reign of Jafar coming out soon. Set champs are about to start. Potentially, we would assume, based on the schedule of last time, reveals are coming soon. You know, there's like a lot of things that this could be about. So for people to automatically assume Worlds seems like a little bit more hope, right, that we've been used to. But then we got this message in the public and official Disney Lorcana Discord. This has been translated from German, I think you said, translated from something.
Yeah, I think so.
But the point is that a Ravensburger employee, Lars, has said, I hope none of my bosses are mad at me for saying it's not only set 8. That's correct. It's called the next chapter for a reason, with a smiley face. So looking at the graphic that we have here, it says watch the next chapter. So that's literally referring to what's going to be on the Lorecast, right? But this is in and of itself could have been a whole video. this Lars comment could have been a whole video. Okay.
I appreciate Lars so much.
Oh, absolutely.
He's so good for content.
But we're not done, folks, because then Lars said even more things, and that is, and again, this is a translation, but this is public. You can find it in the official Discord from Ravensburger for Lorcana. It says, because I only had very little space on this picture, no, seriously, wait until Tuesday. Talking about the Lorecast that's coming up. This isn't a classic Lorecast. A classic Lorecast in this case would be like, hey, here's a look at Reign of Jafar. The thing is, hey, look at the future. So again, this is worded a little weirdly because of the translations, but basically what Lars is literally saying here is a typical Lorecast would be like, here's a look at the next, set coming out. Here's some of the cards, things like that. He's saying, hey, this is basically going to be the future of Lorcana is what we're going to be talking about in this Lorecast, which has led many people to believe this is about Worlds. Do you want to jump in here, or do we just want to go ahead and move on to the next recap that we got to share?
I was gonna say, there's so much speculation. For one thing, when I hear next chapter, right, if we're thinking about the traditional sense of when somebody would use that, it's like if something huge just ended and they're starting something brand new.
Yeah.
If someone gets fired from their job and then gets a new job, they're like, well, I'm looking forward to my next chapter.
My next chapter.
Life.
Absolutely.
If someone ends a relationship, oh, well, I'm just looking forward to the next chapter in my life. So hopefully it's not that bad, because I like the first chapter.
Right,
I mean,
right.
The first chapter, we had DLCs, we had all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm scared personally.
Yeah.
I hopefully I'm reading too much into that, because I feel like they're about to be like, hey, it's all done. Casual only, no tournaments ever.
That would be terrible.
But yeah, other people have been speculating, and luckily one person summed up everyone's speculations.
Yes, which we will talk about all of the speculations that are going on. But I agree. I'm wanting, like I'm sure the rest of the player base is, to remain hopeful that, hey, look at the future is like a roadmap for the next several sets. Just like this first chapter would have been, 7 sets. So maybe this next chapter is the next 7, bringing us all the way to set 14, right? That would be great, and it would be great to have those DLCs announced, but we just don't know. So like Dick mentioned, ton of speculation, because Lars is really spilling some of the beans here. The beans are all over the floor.
Another big thing is we already know the names of set 8 and 9.
Yeah.
And we know that they're not called chapter 2.
Right.
So
it is, yeah. Let's just look at all of the speculation, which thankfully has been summed up quite nicely, I would say, by our friend Traverse Tavern here. So we're just gonna read this tweet. We got it on screen for you. And it says, Traverse is saying, I guess I'll call my shot now. It's going to be in this Lorecast, essentially, world's info, dates, and planned events for non-participants. Also, Fabled, which is set 9, if you're not too ingrained in the community. So we have Reign of Jafar is going to be set 8, and then set 9 is supposed to be Fabled. Fabled announced to have reprints of sets 1 through 4, which just means they're going to reprint the first 4 sets along with the printing of Fabled. And then
no, I think that means that there will be cards selected from sets 1 through 4 to put in Fabled.
Oh, this is big. Me not understanding.
Like maybe some of the most expensive cards. So that price down some.
So not a completely original set is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, the way that Magic does sets like this now is it's like half new cards, half old cards. And by now, I mean when I played 8 years ago. So I don't really mean now. But it could be, I mean, I suggested in one of our most recent videos, they should do enchanteds of the old, really good cards that don't have enchanteds.
Right.
So there's all kinds of stuff that this could mean.
Okay, so that was my interpretation. That's Dick's interpretation. Maybe Traverse has his own thing that he thinks that means, but
that's true.
That kind of covers the speculation surrounding it. And then a DLC roadmap for next season. And then finally, something we already discussed, rotations. So this is kind of summing up. Yeah, right. Like with the crying. This is just kind of us taking you through what's been going on in Disney Lorcana. This is the breaking news. This is all the things you need to be caught up on. Now we're gonna share our opinion and tell you whether or not we think this is accurate. Let's start with Worlds. I would love to believe that they are smarter than, like, they're smart enough to know that they cannot do a Lorecast without talking about Worlds again. So I do think it's finally time we're getting Worlds info. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that we will definitely get Worlds info.
However,
yeah. So then we move into dates. Yeah, sure. That comes with the info. Let's move into planned events for non-participants.
Yes.
Do you think there will be any?
I wanted to believe, if you had asked me this question when we first got a hint at Worlds, when we first got, like, for example, the whole new world promo, right? If you had asked me that question when all of that was shared, I would be like, yes, Worlds is going to be a huge celebration of the first year of Lorcana and all of the passion that these players have had. There's going to be even more tickets. It's going to be in Disney World, huge venue. Anybody who wants like a ticket virtually is going to be able to get one, or at least, like, let's say 5,000. Let's just 5,000, 10,000 players, right? In this huge celebration, side events firing, streaming, the main event, all of that. And if you ask me right now, I would say I think it's going to be just the players, and maybe a friend. Like that they're allowed to physically bring into the building and not even watch them play. I truly don't believe that Worlds is going to be for anybody but the players.
Yeah, I think at this point, unless they say Worlds is 2026,
mm-hmm.
I think at this point it would infuriate everyone who is not from North America. And it would be wrong for everyone who's not from North America. I'm one that complains about, the EU having their own set championships.
Yeah.
I would never have a leg to stand on if they were told a month or two in advance they need to plan a trip to Disney. Like, I think that if it is open to the public and it's such short notice, that is just completely wrong. So I'm leaning towards it is just not going to be open to the public. Even though I believe when they announced Worlds to begin with, they said it would come along with a big celebration event.
Right.
So I feel like, I mean, it's not like they saved the lorecasts, right? Those things get deleted immediately. So I feel like they're just like, that didn't happen.
We never said that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now they're gonna put a spin on it where they're gonna be like, kind of how they have these pack rush events where you can go to participating LGSs and get, a free pack. They're gonna be like, well, this is the celebration. You can go to your LGS and get a free pack rush in celebration of Worlds. But yeah, so I think we can, kind of talk about this one for a little bit, because Worlds is kind of the biggest part of this in a sense. This is something that really was supposed to kind of be the culmination of this first year of Disney Lorcana, of this first competitive season, and celebrate, everything that the game has been able to accomplish in such a short amount of time. I remember the conversations were going from, wow, Lorcana's going to last forever. This game's going to be around for a long time. Look at how, good they're taking care of their competitive scene and all of this stuff. And it's really going to get some traction, to now I'm seeing the conversation shifting to being like, and obviously this is hyperbolic, but it's still, reporting community sentiments as people being like, I don't see this game lasting longer than a few more years because they've killed the competitive circuit. And honestly, if you want my opinion, it's hard to feel like right now Ravensburger want to hold Worlds. It genuinely feels like they did the DLCs and because they wanted to, and then all of a sudden they're like, we actually don't want to do this anymore. I'm scared there's not going to be a DLC roadmap for next season, because it just, everything that they've been showing us is that they do not want to host these events, which to me feels really, really, really confusing. And I don't know, maybe, over, like you said, over in the UK, that those creators or even those players feel a bit different, because they do have a very strong, let's say, community engagement from Ravensburger, where they host the content creator set champs and stuff like that. Unfortunately, there's been a hotly debated topic. We don't really have that here in North America. Many content creators have gotten into it, about that. But the point is, regardless of how many DLCs we got, we don't have the same kind of community outreach from Ravensburger yet. I think it's building. We've been seeing more card reveals and things like that for NA, which we've been grateful to have one in the past. So I think they're working towards it. But overall, I think it's just something that it's hard to feel like Ravensburger wants to host these competitive events. I don't know how you feel about that, but I do think at this point, the community is going to be more upset over Worlds than anything else.
Yeah, it's funny because we know that they hired people specifically for future events and planning future events.
Because they've publicly said that on the Discord. They've shared that with us. Those people have introduced themselves to us in that public Discord.
There have been job postings on Ravensburger's website that are now gone, and if you just check LinkedIn, you can see previous job postings or people just being like, "Hey, I'm I think it was Greg Tito. I found his LinkedIn, and it's he's what looks like is going to be maybe the new community manager. Not sure exactly,
right?
But yeah, but then everything that you see, not behind the scenes, is just yeah, whatever. You guys are shunned to the side. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even know I was gonna bring this up this episode, but I feel like if this was not a Disney related game, this game would be out of business.
Yeah.
I have defended this game and Ravensburger and everything about the game to a lot. I have a lot of friends that play a lot of other card games,
right? And
they kind of just laugh at me, right? And they're like, that game would be dead in 2 years. That game would be dead in 3 years. That game will be dead in whatever. They're like, the game's terrible. I think the game is great.
I think the game's great.
These people have never played.
Yeah.
The people have never played the game before.
Yeah.
So they just are just.
That's a big part of what's keeping the game around, despite I think some of the missteps that has been made.
Well, I think the biggest thing that's keeping the game around is Disney fans being maybe naive to card games.
Yeah.
A lot of people, it's their first card game.
Yeah.
And a lot of people who were Disney fans, most people who are a Disney fan, they're a Disney fan. They are dedicated. They will dress as their favorite characters everywhere they go. Disney is their entire life, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like people are just like, it's like when you're in a toxic relationship and you don't realize all the bad stuff that's happening.
Yeah,
Because right now I feel like we're in a toxic relationship with the competitive side of Ravensburg.
absolutely,
That's
absolutely.
that's how it feels, honestly.
Yeah,
And I really think if this was any other IP in the universe, they'd be like, all right, it was good while it lasted. Thanks everyone. We'll put out a couple more sets, but no more tournaments, no more set champs, no more promos. You know?
yeah.
Like
It's
I think it'd be it.
yeah, it's very disappointing, and I think it's gonna be incredibly disheartening if the community is not able to be at Worlds, even if it wasn't 5,000 players, right? If they really couldn't up it, if they just kept it at that same 1078 or 2,000 players, whatever it was, and then the Worlds on the side, it still would have been something to where at least we had the same consistent sizing of like past at least NA DLC sizes, right? Like a little over 1,000 players. But if it's truly just like the Worlds participants and maybe like they get to bring their mom or something like that, I just think that's gonna feel horrible for the community. Obviously I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna watch Worlds at home. We'll probably cover it, of course. Like, it's not that we don't love the game, but it's just like, I think, to me, as someone who's poured so much time into this game, and I'm sure I speak for a lot of us watching this video and participating in locals and set champs and all this stuff, to not be there as part of that first year when we were like invited to be a part of that first year of competitive seasons, to not be able to send it off, you know what I mean? Like, I remember being there in Atlanta looking at the first like top 8 that we ever had, the first people to ever get a golden Mickey here in the United States. Like, so I think it's going to be really disappointing if the community's not able to be a part of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't even know how like Disney isn't like, we will give you a free venue.
Right.
Because we're at that point in the year where they're going to be like selling heavily discounted tickets to cheerleading camps and stuff like that.
Right.
And if they could have 2, 3, 4,000 people flying in paying full price,
right.
I mean,
right.
it's not like they don't want to make money. They're a corporation,
Right.
So I don't get any of it, honestly.
Yeah. Anything else to say about Worlds before we move on to the next part?
No, I think we might have to circle back to something about Worlds, but it'll be later.
We'll come back to it. So the next thing is the fabled announcement to have reprints. Obviously, we talked a little bit about what this could mean. Is there anything more you want to say on this?
Yeah, I actually had never even thought about this until reading him saying it, and I really, really like that art style of Fabled.
Yeah, it's really cool.
What they showed off. So it would be pretty swag if they did reprint some of our favorite cards in that alternate art style.
Yeah, and I think
that we're not enchanted, because I don't like playing with foils.
Well, that's exactly what I was gonna say, is like something that we had just talked about. Well, you specifically had just talked about as part of our last video, even or like a couple videos ago, is like Ravensburger kind of just like sweetening the pot a little bit on like chase cards that aren't even like enchanted, and like you talked a lot about like when you open an enchanted finally and it's the wall. Like this, if they are gonna do no offense to the wall lovers out there. someone's sleeping it up for set champs as we speak. Yeah, but
I'm Game of Thrones fans.
But no, but how amazing would that be? That would be a really cool opportunity to like for Fabled to have even you like man, I was gonna say all cards that have enchantments already. I was gonna be like Robin Hood, and I was like, nope, he's got one. But regardless, like, or even like, let's say like a giant cobra or like a bell, or a coil, a sapphire coil. These are all last set cards, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like these cards that just like everybody loves, and just like for them to have cool new art that you can use even though it's a common, or have like a sort of enchanted style version of it. I think that would be a really great call, and I think the community would love something like that, and it would show a little bit of interest in like helping those packs kind of be a little bit more worth it, I guess.
Yeah, especially I think that if there were a set that contained cards that were reprinted, they'd have to look different. Otherwise, no 100%. One's gonna buy the sealed product.
100%, yeah. So I think it's a cool chance, and I'm down with that. The next thing is the DLC roadmap for the next season. Boy, I hope so. What do you think about that?
we're gonna get to something, and I don't think that people keep saying this season as if it's this year. I think there's zero shot it's this year. We're about to be in the 5th month.
Oh
There's
yeah.
no way we have a DLC this year.
Yeah, because you also have to think, right? Just logistically, let's say, what do you think that cutoff is? Do you think it's October, or do you think it's maybe November? Like basically October, November, December, really? Like that's like holiday time. You know what I mean? Like even the Ravensburger employees are like taking time off, just like everybody is, So I highly doubt they're running super competitive events, at least within the last couple months of the year. And like you said, we're already 5 months in. Summer would be prime time, but we don't even have Worlds info. And like you said, some of those players from, that are qualified from not even, let's say if it is held in Disney World, are not, based in the United States or based in even North America. It's going to be incredibly hard for them to like, you know what I mean? Like, how are you going to get a plane ticket that far out? And like Ravensburger doesn't pay for them to go, they got to pay their own way if they want to participate. So it's like, there's just no world, I think, in which Worlds is like soon. Like it's not, I don't even know if it's like over the summer. Yeah. And you can't start the next season, right, until this one's complete. So
yeah, it's insane. Also, I forgot, this reminds me, you were talking about traveling. And about how like I think some of the players are a little bit naive. Honestly, it sounds bad. So like when I played Magic, all right, I've always hated trading card games. I actually think most trading card games are bad for the people playing.
Right.
It's gonna sound rough. I felt like Disney was different. I felt like Disney Lorcana was different. I felt like the game was a lot different, especially like. And something Albert talked about, and he was like, yeah, this player base is great. He was like, I want to keep all the TCG players out.
Yeah.
He said eventually all TCG communities turn into toxic terribleness, right?
Right.
And I have known so many people in my life who have sacrificed everything just to be able to go to like Friday Night Magic every week.
Yeah.
Like people, they would work somewhere. I know I could name 10 people who have had the same job since basically high school because they get Fridays off and Saturdays off. And they just want to play card games. And like they've never dated anyone, stuff like that. And like it's because they have consumed themselves so much that they're willing to warp their entire lives around it. The amount of people who have said, I'm not scheduling my yearly family vacation until they have Worlds dates is scary. It's like a cult.
I want to clarify, I think, a little bit what Dick is saying here, just to be the nice PR guy. I think what Dick is kind of speaking to is very, really very similar to like how we see like gambling addictions happen, and how like people will like basically allow, let's say, like go into the slot machine on a Friday night to consume their entire life or dictate their entire paycheck, to the point where addiction is a disease, right? And those people need help. We're not accusing anybody of that in Disney Lorcana, but I think what he's talking about is like in TCG spaces, essentially, we all know it's like gambling, right? You're opening packs, you're trying to hit that, expensive one, that gets you money. Essentially, it's gambling. We get it, right? So with that comes, people can get addicted to this game in a sense, can get addicted to opening packs in a sense. And like when, they allow this game to dictate their whole life the same way a gambling addict would allow gambling to dictate their whole life, it's not good. And so I have seen like you said, a lot of people expressing like, well, I don't want to schedule my family vacation because what if Worlds is announced and it's in Disney World and I was going to go anyways. I can kind of see like the thought process, but I think what you're saying is like they're naive in the sense that like this is ultimately at the end of the day a trading card game, and you've seen this kind of like happen to so many others, if I'm understanding you correctly.
Yeah, this is more of a warning. Like, don't fall into this pitfall. It's rough. I think it was actually predatory in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
To the point where you would go on their website and it would say, become a professional player in 3 easy steps. Buy the cards, win a Pro Tour qualifier, play on the Pro Tour. It's that simple. And it's like, yeah, it's that simple. Spend $50,000 on all the best decks in all the formats.
Right.
Travel the entire world accumulating pro points at Grand Prix. Like, obviously, you could spike a PTQ or spike a Grand Prix for the Magic players out there. But, like, a lot of people were, like, this close. You know? And they're so close that... And they've sunk so much time into it that they think, no, the next one's mine. The next one's mine. The next one's mine. 10 years later, the next one wasn't theirs yet.
Right.
And life has passed by.
Right.
And what I've enjoyed is, like, Ravensburger didn't come out and say, yeah, you can be a professional Disney Lorcana player. Look at how expensive this stuff is. Yeah. In fact, the promos are worth $10.
Right.
You know?
Contractually, legally.
Yeah. So, like, you know, they didn't say, like, from the beginning, we're going to have this huge tour. They said, we're going to have events that celebrate the game and stuff like that. That's why I had very high hopes that this would be different. And technically it is. But at some point when people are this invested in things, it can start to warp their lives. So I just want people to take a step back and look at it. Like, I wish someone had this conversation with me when I was a teenager, you know. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a fair point, and it's a fair thing to bring up because a lot of people have said it. And I think it's because, like you said, this game is made up of Disney fans, and so a lot of people were like, oh, this is going to be like the best of both worlds, you know. I can go to Disney and it's just going to happen, like, perfectly fall in line with my family vacation anyways. And I think it's just like the longer we kept waiting, it was like at this point people schedule your vacations. Like, it's, you know, like you said, it's yeah. So it was a nice thought, but I think you're just more like, yeah, like you said, giving a word of warning that it's like at this point it's probably not even going to be worth it, which is unfortunate, you know, because so many of us wanted to participate.
Yeah.
The last thing on at least this tweet in terms of the speculations, because I do think this kind of covered a lot of it, is rotation.
Yeah, just put a link like right up here
to the video. Yeah.
Yeah, people enjoyed that.
Link in the description. Watch our rotation video and what we think.
Yeah, dude, I'm just gonna say it. The amount of people who've spoken absolutes one way or the other. How can you be so certain? Like, I've been involved with trading card games since I was 9. I am not certain of a single thing that is happening. I am using like all of my background to draw on and give my best guess. But in no way am I ever going to tell someone, no, you're wrong.
Right.
Like, how do I... There's no way you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but I used to get yelled at all the time for speaking in absolutes, so maybe that's why it comes out to me.
Obviously, we know what we think about rotations. If you don't, link in the description, you can watch that video. Quick yes or no, you think they could be announcing a rotation? Not like for this next set, maybe, but just like that one is coming, let's say.
God. I don't know, because it's Disney Lorcana is at such a low right now that could just be like the 13th reason why that people quit. Like, honestly,
such a low in the sense of like community sentiment. Yeah, it has been quite low.
Yeah,
with the lack of worlds and competitive stuff.
Like, I know so many people who haven't bought even like the few most recent sets because they're like, I have nothing to play in. So then if you're told, and my cards are useless on top of that, it's like, hey, if everything goes the way we think, which is you can't come to Worlds, there's no DLCs, oh, you want to go play for fun at locals, okay, buy all brand new cards. That's a 1-2-3 punch that's just not gonna be great. You know, like,
so perhaps we hope not on the rotation announcement.
I hope there's no rotation announcement right now. But
I think it would ruffle some feathers for sure.
I do think it is good for the game, but we need a game to play.
Right. I don't think the community could take that right now, just based on even the reactions on that video. Or really on Facebook. Yeah, we could not. No. Okay, so in that case, I think kind of wrapping, like you said, back around to Worlds. Why haven't they had Worlds? We don't know.
Oh, I was gonna say, do you have PPG's event up?
Yes. So let me pull that up. So we have Pro Play Games is hosting a Disney Lorcana $15,000 tournament. So that has $15,000 in cash prizing. They're calling it the Pro Play Summit. It's going to be in Texas. So take it away. What do you want to say about this?
Well, I'm signed up for this.
Oh, great.
And you know, they had pre-sale tickets, like first 100 got a discount. That was gone instantly. I did not get one of those first 100. It was like SSG all over again, of events just selling out instantly, right? But the big thing that jumps out to me here is cash prizing.
Yeah.
We know for a fact you cannot like work with Ravensburger and have cash prizing, just from looking at the set championships guides.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do cash prizing, correct?
Yeah, so this tells me that PPG and Ravensburger have broken up.
Also worth noting, we as content creators, and you'll see many content creators because it's on the website as a requirement, where also it says they give you the little thing to put in the bio of, you know, we are expressly prohibited from charging you for this content. So they are very clear. Ravensburger in multiple places has been very clear that they don't like charging for content. So or like, you know, events and etc. So yeah, this is a cash prize tournament. It does appear as though they are not working with Ravensburger anymore. At the very least, well, obviously, Ravensburger's not on this event, but it would surprise me if they're still doing this with PPG. Second
thing is, it's where the DLC was in Fort Worth.
Is it the same actual building? Because I know it was in Fort Worth. I just don't know if it was that same exact building.
I was told it's the same building. We probably should have Googled that.
We probably should have checked.
If not, people can comment and call me stupid. It's fine. I was told it's the same building. Also, with the amount of tickets they had on the website, it could have been a DLC.
Right. Because it could hold the same amount of people, basically.
Yes. So, if Ravensburger wanted to have a DLC and wanted to continue to work with PPG, they could have. So I don't know what happened there.
As early as July 5th.
Yeah, I mean,
like, if that could have been Worlds.
I was gonna say, if you told me, all right, Worlds had to get pushed back to July, this is where it is, people would be like, awesome.
Yep.
People would be like, I'm so glad I have this information. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I mean, this has got to be if Worlds ends up being a small thing in Florida, and I know they've said it was going to be in Florida forever. If they were like, hey, sorry, it didn't work out, we're moving it to Texas, you know?
Right.
Like, people aren't going to be happy because they wanted to go to Disney World, but I feel like people would be even happier just to be there at all, no matter where it was. So I think that if they announce Worlds is going to be this closed thing, and people are aware that PPG has these large buildings still that they could have used, there's going to be a lot of outrage. I can't even imagine, honestly. And I think this is another thing where if this was not a Disney card game, people would be like, all right, forget you.
Yeah, I think, you know, obviously we're just speculating. We have no way of knowing what the relationship between PPG and Ravensburger is. And we're in no way alleging that it's like negative. They could just not be working together for a myriad of reasons. But at the end of the day, seeing something like this, and even if it's not the same, you know, building, just seeing it in the same city, holding the same amount, if not more, people that a DLC has held before, it does beg the question, why? Why couldn't Ravensburger host a DLC or Worlds or anything in this really very long stretch of time? And some people have said, oh, well, they're trying to catch up, you know, the other continents that just got the game, you know, so they did one in Australia, and, you know, they're trying to get, I think Japan caught up, and like all of these, you know, everywhere they're releasing the game. I could see it, but it's also like to not tell us that, even to be like, hey, initially we started DLCs with only these places in mind, and now we're going to push this back in the spirit of, you know, like kind of reframe it in their own Disney way of, in the spirit of including everybody and letting everybody have the magic of playing Lorcana. You know, we're going to wait for Worlds to have all these players a part of it. I think we all could have got behind that, and we could have been like, you know what, fine. Like, yeah, it sucks that we have to wait to push it back, but at least, you know, they're telling us why. They're saying they want everybody to feel included. They want everybody to get caught up. We could have been with that, right? We could have got with that. Instead, they said nothing. And in addition to saying nothing, they scheduled nothing and they did nothing, and like, you know what I mean? Like, so, you know, I get it. They got to run their game. But it's just like, we clearly, the Disney Lorcana community, like, have ridden so hard for this game and for Ravensburger, and we've showed up to these DLCs and we've shown that there's demand for these things and that we care and that we, you know, we want to make the game great, and we've given them constructive feedback, and they've, like, you know, they've listened to us time and time again. It's just I don't understand why this is the thing they drop the ball on, especially when seeing a 15K tournament like this that has all the signs pointing to they could have had this event if they wanted to. I don't know.
Yes. And I just looked it up. It is the same building.
Well, there you go. We do our research, even if it's mid-video.
Yeah, and Japan and China have their own world championships, completely separate from ours.
Oh, well, there you go.
So they have, like, no excuses.
So there's no reason why they couldn't have had ours. So really, I mean, what do you think? What is like, at this point, I can't understand why. I'm assuming it's just got to be something, you know, business, corporate related. Disney's a huge company. It probably takes forever to get anything approved. All of that can be true. I can understand how businesses work while still feeling incredibly disappointed as a member of the community. So I don't know. At this point, what are you even thinking about Worlds?
I am hoping that 5 years from now, we only remember it. You know what I mean? It's like, it's like, do you remember that time you got food poisoning 3 years ago? No, doesn't like pop up in your in your mind ever, you know. But, you know, aside from that, I'm also hoping that if they can announce more stuff that's coming for the roadmap of the future,
right.
I hope one of those things is more in-store events.
Yes.
To end this on a good note.
Yeah, for sure.
I would love some kind of like qualifier, something between a DLC and a set championships that's also held in stores that's advertised as competitive.
Yeah.
I know it's gonna be rough, especially with stores being trash and selling kits and stuff like that, but yeah, and again, I don't know how any of this stuff happens without a judge program. We could talk for 5 hours about this, so we'll just forget that doesn't exist. We'll just pretend it does exist somehow.
I mean, if we want to positive spin it, I think at the end of the day, we as community members have a right to be frustrated, you know, because there has been a lack of communication. And I think ultimately it's just about remembering that, like, we are frustrated because we care so much, right? And because we love this game so much. Think about it, right? If the game was bad, so many more people would have stopped playing it. It's not. They made a great game. They designed a great game that is fun to play, and it is engaging for truly players of all ages and all skill levels, right? And so I guess it's one of those things. If I'm gonna loop back around to Disney, this is gonna be so good. Are you ready for this? Being a Disney nerd, we get to think of that Winnie the Pooh quote that says, "How lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard." Boom! Oh, I'm so good. Are you kidding me? But seriously, you know, like, in the sense that, like, you know, we're lucky that, like, not having any DLCs and not having, you know, the Worlds announcement is so difficult for us because the game is so amazing and it's been so fun and the competitive DLC season was so great. So, I mean, if perchance a Ravensburger employee is still watching 40 minutes into this video, we all, as a community, I think, are not, like, dogging on you guys because we hate you. It's actually because we like you very much and because you've done such a great job that we're just saying, like, man, it felt so good to be a part of this the first time. We really want to see that, like, that finish, you know. It feels incomplete until we get this thing, and I really think that's part of why Worlds is so important. So hopefully that's the positive spin we all needed to hear, is just that the game's really good and that's why we care so much. And it's important to make our voices heard constructively and respectfully, because every time we've done so, we've been heard and we've been responded to, right? Even simple things like, you know, set championship promos going from, we used to get 4, then we got 8, and now we get a whole bunch. Not all of them are foil, but we get a bunch. You know what I mean? Like, so they're trying. Even little things like that show that they're trying. If Fable does have reprints, you know, they're trying to make the packs more interesting. They're trying to reprint cards that people actually like and use. You know, so there is good to come out of this. Hopefully. you know, if we do get the announcements that we're hoping for. And I think ultimately it's just being frustrated or being upset or whatever it is because you care. And I think that part of it at least is beautiful, even if it does come with a little bit of negative feelings.
Yep, and if Travers Tavern was wrong about any of his predictions, go find him on Twitter and tell him he's stupid.
Yes, thank you to him for that tweet. Because
it was so helpful.
Yeah,
you didn't have to show 4 different tweets.
Yeah, it was great. We just like, oh, here's somebody who everything we've seen on the internet, it's all in one place. So, all right, I think that is gonna be it from us. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let us know. Obviously, we're kind of speaking on behalf of the community here, but we'd love to hear the actual community's thoughts. Let us know what you're actually thinking, feeling about Worlds. Also, if you made it this far in the video, please subscribe. It helps us out so much. Don't forget to like the video. And we'll catch you in the next one.